On today's show, we're going to talk about your Denver Nuggets, a bounce back after the loss versus the Dallas Mavericks. We're going to get into that game a little bit, some of the things that transpired that led to the late game loss and buzzer beater by Kyrie Irving. And then we're going to talk about the Denver Nuggets taking on the Minnesota Timberwolves in a game that has huge implications for the top of the Western Conference. We're going to top into that and more here at Locked On Nuggets.
You are Locked On Nuggets, your daily Denver Nuggets podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's going on, y'all? Welcome to Locked On Nuggets. This is your host, Swiper. This is your team every day. Thank y'all so much for being here today. This is going to be an incredible episode with an incredible day. Thank you to all y'all for being here. Y'all, this show is brought to us by LinkedIn. LinkedIn Jobs help you to find the qualified candidates that you want to talk to faster. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/LockedOnNBA. That's linkedin.com/LockedOnNBA to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply. Y'all, Denver Nuggets, what's going on, y'all? Everybody, shout out to everybody already in the chat. What's going on? What's going on? What's going on? Good to see y'all. I love seeing y'all on a daily basis. I try to look a little bit sharp, try to pop in here with some energy today. And y'all, we definitely going to tap into this. We're going to tap into this, Rob. I know a lot of things happened and transpired at the end of that game. I know you got a little bit of opportunity to talk to Matt and to Adam about it, but I got my own thoughts about it. So the Denver Nuggets, they lose. I'm talking about a nail biter in one of the games of the season. They lose 107-105 to the Dallas Mavericks. And this was a really, really interesting game. And if you look at the game, y'all, the Nuggets, they only shot 44% from the field, but they held the Dallas Mavericks to 42% from the field. And they were winning going into halftime. And then the third quarter run happened that kind of flipped the script on the head of the game. And going into that fourth quarter, the Denver Nuggets literally played Jamal Murray with the stagger lineup where they had Jamal Murray with the all-bench lineup with Justin Holiday and them. And literally, man, like they could not secure a rebound. Now, if you look at the numbers, the starters actually rebounded fairly well. Jokic had 11 rebounds. Porter had 7. Murray had 4. Gordon had 8. KCP had 3. They did a fairly decent job securing the board and rebounding. And if you look at all, that's 33 rebounds between the starting 5. 33 rebounds with the starting 5. But if you look at the bench, between all of the bench players, they secured just 4 rebounds, and 2 of those were from Peyton Watson. And so that fourth quarter, at the top of the fourth, when the Dallas Mavericks had either one of Lively or had Daniil Gafford in the game, they just could not secure a defensive rebound to close out a possession. And Derrick Jones Jr. especially had such a huge impact on the game as he has a positive plus minus of 20 in that game, because when he was on the court, the level of energy that he was giving on the board, the level of energy he was giving on the offensive glass, the level of energy he was getting around the rim was just tremendous. And he had 8 rebounds by himself in that game. And again, that was the story of the game for me. Obviously, Jamal Murray and Nikola Jokic, they shot 13 of 36 in this game. Just not the best game possible. Jamal Murray was 7 of 20. Jokic was 6 of 16. And Jokic arguably, had one of his worst games of the year. We've had lower scoring games from Joker. Joker had a low scoring game versus the Heat, scored 12 points, was 5 of 8 from the field. Joker had an 8-point game versus the Dallas Mavericks earlier this year, but it was absolutely dominant from the Denver Nuggets on a win. So there were a lot of things that they did well when Jokic has scored less than 10 points or taken 10 shots or less in a game. But in this game in particular, I think some of this was, at the start of the game, I think he got a little flustered by the foul calls or the lack thereof of foul calls. If you remember, he was getting mauled on the inside by the front court for the Dallas Mavericks, whether it's Maxi Kleber, whether it was Derrick Jones Jr., whether it was obviously having Derek Lively or having Daniil Gafford. And there were multiple shots you could see of him getting double teamed. He would have his elbows hit, he would get hit on his arm, and they just were not calling some of these fouls. And so I think Joker, he started the game off like maybe 2 of 9 from the field, and you could just tell that it was just not going to be one of those nights for him. And obviously, he finished the rest of the game basically shooting 4 of 11. Just not a good Joker game. Joker also missed a 3 that just kind of looked like he was out of rhythm. And I don't expect that will cross over into tonight. I do expect that he's going to be able to hit this approach a little bit differently. But what I did say on Twitter that a lot of people felt a lot of way about is that the Nuggets are so good that Joker comes back in the game. They're basically down 13 points. The Nuggets, in Joker's minutes, when he played in a game that he didn't play well, that he was 6 of 16, the dude was a plus 10 on the night. He was a plus 10 on the night that he was 6 of 16 and just did not look like he had the requisite energy needed and the requisite shot making needed in order to win that game. But I think the thing is that when Joker come back in, Michael Porter Jr. hit a three-pointer. KCP hit a nice three-pointer in the right corner. KCP got to the free throw line. Jamal Murray had an amazing three-pointer that he had on a nice swing opportunity that left to a wide-open Jamal Murray three at the left wing. And then on top of that, KCP then made another pull-up shot. And the Nuggets went on a 13-3 run. 13-3 run. Jamal Murray then makes like a left-handed scoop to Jokic, gets to switch onto Luka Doncic, takes Luka all the way to the rack, has a nice little hook shot over him off the glass that he hits, and then Jamal Murray hits a three on a botched switch. And so I want to talk a little bit about this too. So what happens in this game is the Nuggets are going on this 13-2 run. Okay, they go on a 13-3 run. Then Murray and Jokic score back-to-back possessions. And if you remember, Jamal Murray has the ball at the left wing again, and they're getting ready to get into a pick and roll action because they want to see if they can get the switch with Luka on the Joker again. But what happens is when they go for this screen, Jamal Murray gets a screen. Luka then tries to switch off to Maxi Kleber, but instead of Maxi stepping right up or Luka going over the top, Jamal has basically like this half a second window where there's nobody within 3 feet of him. And so he just does a slick pull up with like 46 seconds left and just absolutely nails the shot. And it was really just or maybe not even that. It might have been 26 seconds after. It was 26 seconds left on the shot clock, 25 seconds or whatever it was on the shot clock. It just absolutely nails a open three-pointer. And I'm like, man, Jamal Murray, bro, like you're incredible. And like I even said at the time, man, Jamal Murray, when he gets in those moments in the clutch, there aren't many MVP candidates that I would rather have the ball than him. His ability to be able to lock in positionally and just be able to be like, all right, I understand the moment. I understand the momentum. I understand where I am on the court. And so let me go ahead and just deliver the kill shot right here. And traditionally, that is the kill shot. I mean, you remember last year when Jamal Murray wasn't playing super well because he just got back from the ACL injury. He had that game versus the Portland Trailblazers. And from that left wing, he got Jeremy Grant on an isolation, and then he got him hedgy tween, step back, three-pointer. And he's been excellent at those shots this year. So when Jamal Murray hit that, it kind of felt like the energy had finally shifted back over to the Nuggets. The Nuggets were leading 105-102. But then the timeout. The Dallas Mavericks, they get a timeout. They draw up a great play. They get the ball, and on the opposite sideline of the bench, and the Denver Nuggets bench is on the other side. This is happening on right in front of the Denver Nuggets bench. They run an out-of-bounds play in which Luka Doncic runs over the top, and Aaron Gordon, for whatever reason, who has been a terrific defender this year, for whatever reason, Aaron Gordon decides to try to go under the screen instead of going over the top to push Luka to a spot on the court where they can either double or he drives to get a two, and then now we make it a free throw game. But for whatever reason, Aaron goes underneath, and Luka just hits this insane three-pointer that's right in front of the logo. And the Denver Nuggets, credit to them, they get the ball out of the basket, and they're like, we're not going to call a timeout. We're going to go ahead and get into a set because we feel like we know what they're going to do. And so this is what I think actually kind of changed the game a little bit. So if y'all remember, the Denver Nuggets come down the court, and Jamal Murray and Nikola Jokic, they're awaiting the two-man game opportunity. But if you remember what happened was the Mavericks had been switching most of the night. And so they were not blitzing Jamal Murray super hard when Jokic was in the game, but what they were doing is switching to try to mitigate some of the pick and roll effectiveness. So I think the Nuggets, it felt like, I can't confirm this, have not spoken to Malone about this, but when they got the play started with about 10 seconds left, which is a little early than normal. But my speculation is the reason they did that is because they figured if they get a switch, they want to be able to give Joker the ball with like 3 seconds left, maybe 4 seconds left. That way he can get the ball. He can decide, okay, based on where the body position is, I can turn right and go away from the basket. I can turn left to go into the basket, or you can face up and then get like a little sweeping under sawboard shuffle to see if you can get the win, or you face up, make a move forward, and like on a sweep movement, you get a hook shot going up. I just figured that's what it felt like the Nuggets were kind of planning for. But what happens is it is PJ Washington and I believe Maxi Kleber, if I remember the defenders correctly, where they kind of get stuck, where it looks like they were expecting, or actually might have been Luka. It looks like they were expecting something to happen at the end of that game. They were expecting for the switch to be made. They just did not run it correctly. And what was so frustrating about it is a lot of people are just like, yo, like, why did Jamal Murray rush that shot? And my whole thing is just like, well, I don't think he rushed it, because some people were saying like there was too much time and stuff that was left on the clock for the Denver Nuggets. So why would they be put in a situation where you're leaving Luka Doncic and Kyrie Irving that much time? But y'all can go ahead and even pull it up now, or whenever you ever get an opportunity, you can pull up this last possession for the Denver Nuggets after they make that three-pointer, and then after Luka Doncic makes the game-tying three-pointer. The Denver Nuggets are sitting here, 12.3 seconds left. Jamal Murray's at the top of the key, and he's sitting on the logo. He then starts rotating to the left, dribble. And so in this situation, Maxi Kleber and PJ Washington are guarding Jokic and Murray because they want to get that switch ready. They're literally prepared to get the switch ready. And so what's funny, this is why basketball is so much about nuance, you all. What's so funny is that it looks like they mess up the call. It looks like they mess up the call. And PJ Washington, instead of immediately switching and going with Jamal, he leaves a little bit of an angle for Jamal to get downhill. And so Jamal's like, boom, cool. So Jamal then, he gets the ball to the right nail, like right at the nail on the right side of the free throw line. And again, it's a 10-foot shot. And I'm telling y'all, there is space for Jamal. By the time Jamal Murray elevates at the apex of his shot, PJ Washington, both of his feet, he finally recovers. And it's both of his feet on the ground while Jamal Murray's at his apex in his jump shot. So some of this is like, well, yeah, he rushed the shot a little bit, but it looks like legitimately like the Mavericks just bossed their coverage. And Nikola Jokic looks like is supposed to get the ball here if they just do a simple switch. But because they mess it up, Jamal Murray doesn't have the same level of time to give the ball to Jokic with 6 seconds left. And so now they just switch down the court. Jamal Murray gets a wide open look that I think he hits 8 out of 10 times. He's been a really good mid-range shooter in the clutch, and he clanks it. And then really from there, it's the story. The Mavericks get the ball with 2.8 seconds left. They run an incredible play for Kyrie Irving. Like, I'm talking about just an incredible play by Kyrie Irving. And because the Nuggets are not trying to concede too much on the end, the Denver Nuggets are switching everything. And Aaron Gordon, when Kyrie Irving, right before he gets the ball, Aaron Gordon gets stuck on the PJ Washington screen. So then Jokic just switched the coverages up. And the funny thing is Jokic actually stays with Kyrie here. But instead of Kyrie just shooting a prototypical jump shot, Kyrie, because he's a mastermind at his craft, Kyrie gets the ball and throws up a left-handed hook shot from 20 feet away and makes it. So I was just honestly like, several things could have been different. Murray, Jokic, they don't go 10 up 36 again, more than likely. And then on top of that, Aaron Gordon going underneath the screen. The Nuggets just did not seem to be able to take care of business at certain times in this game. The Nuggets had 18 free throws in the first half, and then in the second half, they had just 4. Just 4 free throws for the Denver Nuggets in the next half. The Nuggets had 26 assists and just 7 turnovers. The Mavericks had 22 assists and 11 turnovers. But the Nuggets got beat 22-30 by 22 points on the glass, and they got beat by 15 rebounds on the offensive rebound. 15. That's where you lose the game. They lost in second chance points, I think 23-6. They lost in fast break points, and they lost on the offensive glass, and that's why they lose by 2. So I think a lot of this is like you're not in that situation if you just play your game. But I will say this. I think a lot of the reason why the Nuggets have had to like these little bit of a struggles versus the Suns and versus the Mavericks is because both of those teams are in the play-in. Both of them are. So when you're in that situation where you're trying to muster up the energy versus the defending champions versus the MVP favorite. Obviously, Luka is vying for the MVP in his own right. Jokic even said, apparently before the game, that he thinks Luka should be the MVP. And then Luka said after the game about Jokic that the Denver Nuggets have the MVP. And again, I just think that speaks to the mutual respect that both of these players have for each other. And obviously, being Balkan bros, and obviously, Luka have a Serbian father. There's just a natural relationship that exists between all of them. And I think some of this, though, is that the Nuggets just did not been able to get into a situation where they've been able to match that energy right away versus the Mavs versus the Suns. But again, they're 11-2. And I what I love about the way that the games have gone out, even though the Nuggets have lost, it took some really great shot making from Kevin Durant. Remember, Kevin Durant and Bradley Beal. Remember, Kevin Durant made a 3 in front of AG in order to tie the game up to go into overtime. And then Jokic missed the game winner. And then in the overtime, Bradley Beal and Kevin Durant made 4 straight jump shots, and the Nuggets made 0. And then in this Mavericks game, Nuggets get down 13 points. They climb all the way back, 13-2 run. And then Jokic and Murray score. And then from that point on, the Nuggets kind of go cold in that one possession, and then Kyrie and Luka hit 2 amazing shots in order to close out that game. And I think a lot of this is like, 1,000%. But I think that's why beating Denver 4 times in the 7-game series is like a task, because you have to get into a situation where you're up. Jokic come back in the game, they're down 13. It's like, all right, is this enough of a cushion? And then here come the Nuggets. They just storm back. If the Nuggets have a 10-point lead in the fourth quarter, man, just imagine the level of energy you're going to have to put in to overcome that. Like the Suns, they were up 9. They were 22 in the second quarter. They were 9 going into the fourth quarter, and the Nuggets still caught them and had a 3-point lead with the final seconds remaining. The Denver Nuggets were down 13 to the Mavs, and they were still able to catch them, and they were up 3 with seconds remaining on the shot clock. So a lot of this is like, yes, the Nuggets lost, but I just want people to, I guess, feel a little bit encouraged in the fact that you got to give credit to Kyrie. You got to give credit to Luka Doncic. You got to give credit to Kevin Durant. You got to give credit to Devin Booker, to Bradley Beal. They're great players in their own right. But I think for the Nuggets, they are living on this. It's not a knife's edge, but because they're so good when it matters most, and they're so confident that sometimes if they don't come out with the right energy, like they do versus Boston, like they do versus the Lakers, like they do most times versus the Warriors, or in a lot of these games that they played, they just don't, or the Heat, even the Heat, like they closed with Reggie Jackson and Christian Brown. I think even in that instance, it's like, okay, well, we know what we can do. We know what we can do, so we're going to rely on these players to get that job done. So, man, I think the Nuggets are in a good place. I really do. I think the Nuggets are in a good place. I think that they're in a situation right now where they're able to figure out a lot of things that are really important to building team chemistry and camaraderie. And I think these moments is that I think they can find better and find more. And somebody brought this up. I also want to acknowledge that the Suns made 43% from 3, Mavs only made 25. Yeah, I think the Mavs can play better, but I also think that that's the thing, is like you can shoot better. But I think that the other side of this is the Nuggets are so methodical. And again, if Jokic and Murray just have their, average game for them from a shooting standpoint, Jokic was shooting 70% versus the Mavs the first couple of games. I think a lot of this is like if they meet the energy, if they meet the Mavs energy, I think that's where the difference is. It's Nuggets didn't meet their energy. They didn't meet the Suns energy. And I think that's where the losses came from. But that's just me. That's my 2 cents. Let me know in the comment section. That's just my perspective on it. They're 11-2 since the All-Star break. Jokic is all but wrapped up the MVP race at this point, just because I think he's been playing so well, even though he had a little bit of a dud. But we'll see. On the other side, y'all, we're going to talk about this Minnesota Timberwolves game. The Timberwolves could be without a lot of players tonight. They could be without a lot of players tonight. They're going to come down to game time decisions. So we will find out for sure what happens from this point on. But y'all, we'll be right back here to talk about that on Locked On Nuggets. So you know that instant confidence boost you get from an outfit that makes you look really good. That's what I get from Stitch Fix. With Stitch Fix, you get a stylist who understands your style, size, and budget. They do all the shopping for you. It's the easiest way to update your wardrobe this season. You can easily upgrade your wardrobe this year with a professional stylist to help you find a new on-trend favorites that will work for you. I just give my stylist my size, my style, budget preferences. I order boxes when I want and how I want. No subscription required. And they send 5 just for me pieces, plus outfit recommendations and pro styling advice. Look, I keep what works. I send back to rest. And I think y'all got to know this. When you get dressed, some of y'all are a little bit more fashion connoisseurs than others. I have a lot of jeans and shirts and dress shirts, and I got like a different brand of sneakers. I got a lot of Nikes. I wear a lot of Nikes. I have a different dress pants and different dress shoes that I love to wear. So I'm always trying to find like really good combinations that match my body and my build. Like I'm a bigger dude. Like I'm a buffer dude. I'm in the gym a lot. So I need to find things that fit me well and especially fit my legs well. So this is like one of these things that can help you to figure out your body more and how to make yourself look good. And style makes you feel as good as you look. Started today at stitchfix.com/lockedon. That's stitchfix.com/lockedon. stitchfix.com/locked-on. And we will be right back here at Locked On Nuggets. What's going on, y'all? Welcome back to Locked On Nuggets. This is your team every day. This is your host, Swiper. Thank y'all so much for being in here. Again, Adam, Matt, and myself, truly thankful for all of you that take time to listen to this every single day. And y'all, make sure if you're listening to us on Apple iTunes, please give us a 5-star review. Helps more people get exposed to the content we're doing here at Locked On Nuggets, get more listeners. That way we can continue to make great content for you all. If you're on the YouTube side, please give us a like, a share, let people know we like getting some of your favorite NBA and Denver Nuggets content this season. So, y'all, in the last note of that Mavericks game, Ben, that's exactly right. That raised timeout that Michael Malone had at the top of the fourth quarter was insane. And he immediately took Zeke Naji out, who just did not do a good enough job on the glass that game, even though he's played very well the last 2 months. Did not do a good enough job on the glass and put Aaron Gordon in. So for sure, they definitely went to a little bit of a playoff rotation, y'all. But let's talk about this race for the Western Conference. So the Denver Nuggets, if you look at where everything is situated right now, this is the thing. The Nuggets are sitting in, they're tied with the Minnesota Timberwolves. They're sitting in the 3 seed because of the difference. Obviously, Timberwolves won the first matchup. But the Nuggets, if they win tonight, they will be a full game up on the Timberwolves because of this victory. And they'll also be moving to 48-21 and pushing the Timberwolves back to 47-22. And the Thunder, I think, are also playing tonight. And so they have an opportunity to either keep ground with the Thunder or even to get a half game up if the Thunder lose their game. And tonight, the Thunder are playing. Look up the schedule. The Thunder are playing tomorrow. They've actually had a couple of days off. They're playing versus the Jazz tomorrow, which I doubt that. I mean, the Jazz, they're playing hard, but you saw how the Nuggets played them the other night, so they're probably going to win that. The Thunder have coming up. They have OKC, Utah, OKC, Toronto, Milwaukee, OKC, and they got the Pelicans, and then they got Houston, who's been streaking, and then they got the Phoenix, and then they got the Knicks. That's actually not bad. So they got a couple of little easier games here, but then they have 5 straight grinders that they're going to have to be playing. And then the Denver Nuggets tonight, they're taking on the Wolves. But here's the thing about this Wolves team. It's unfortunate, man. They've kind of been hit with a couple of injury clusters right now, because Kyle Anderson, game time decision, Monte Morris, game time decision, and then Rudy Gobert has a little bit of a rib injury right now. He might be a game time decision, and Karl Anthony Towns is already out. So there's a chance that Naz Reid and Luke Garza would be the only centers in rotation today, which still presents a lot of problems because, you know, they're obviously both really good shooters. Naz Reid's a really respectable player, really good young player, and I think he offers a lot off the bench and even as a floor spacer as a starter. But this is going to be a really interesting game because they're both tied right now in the Western Conference. But here's the thing. Listen to this. The Denver Nuggets are playing on NBA TV tonight. They're playing in Minnesota, and they're per FanDuel, They're a minus 7.5 point favorite in Minnesota. Minus 7.5 point favorite in Minnesota. That, to me, says a lot. That says a lot about the expectation of who's going to play tonight. That says a lot about the expectation of what the Denver Nuggets are going to come out doing tonight. That says a lot about the expectation about where the Minnesota Timberwolves are going to be. And I believe the Timberwolves are coming off a back-to-back. They just played Utah yesterday, and they won 1-4. They played in Utah yesterday, and they come back to Minnesota, and they play Denver. So this is the thing. The Nuggets are very familiar with this. They have played a lot of their games versus the Minnesota Timberwolves on the front or the back end of a back-to-back. And I even think the game this year, if I remember correctly, I think the Nuggets, they also played them when the Nuggets got beat 110-89. They got beat 110-89. And let me check the schedule. Let me check the schedule for that game. Because I believe when the Nuggets played them, let's see here. Nuggets lost. Yeah. So they played on October 30th. They played at Timberwolves on November 1st, and they lost 110-89, and that was just a blowout. And if you remember in that game, Jokic was 11 for 23. KCP was a minus 20. Jokic a minus 19. Jamal Murray was 5 of 16 in that game. And then the bench was all over the place too. And the Nuggets in that game, they shot 18% from three, and they shot 40% from the field. 40% from the field. So this is going to be an interesting spot because the Nuggets are going to have a clear rest advantage, and they're going to have, looks like, the injury advantage on their side as well. And I think, again, you definitely want to see your players full strength and fully healthy. I absolutely hope that the Karl Anthony Towns, obviously his injury gets better, and if he decides he wants to come back this year, I know he got the surgery and everything else. I hope he comes back okay. Naz Reid want him to be healthy. Jaden McDaniels want him to be healthy. Mike Conley, Rudy Gobert, because you want everybody to be healthy in the playoffs, y'all. We just want everybody to be able to show their best. But this is going to be an interesting game because the Timberwolves have maintained the best defense in the NBA over the course of this season, and they've been able to prove their stuff a lot this year. And even if you look at their main starting lineup, Mike Conley, Anthony Edwards, Jaden McDaniels, Karl Anthony Towns, Rudy Gobert, 43 games played together, plus 9.1 net rating. A plus 9.1 net rating. That's one of the better five-man units in basketball. The Nuggets have played more minutes. The Nuggets have played 850 minutes together, 43 games together. They're a plus 13.3 net rating with a 110.9 defensive rating and a 124.1 offensive rating, which is what helps them a lot. And I think a lot of this is, people say that the Nuggets, they play with their starters a lot, which they do. But I think that's just kind of how they roll, though. Like the Nuggets just they're in a situation where they're constantly trying to put the best lineup on the court to maximize the Jokic minutes, maximize the Gordon minutes, maximize the Porter minutes. And so a lot of this is just about, how do we continue to field the teams with as much talent as possible? And I think Jokic in particular, Jokic has really been able to amplify the bench unit as well, because if you look at his on-off numbers with the mostly bench lineups, they're just really, really, really solid. But the thing they've been trying to master and figure out are the Murray lineups. And I do think, based on this year, by the way, the Denver Nuggets, for teams that have more than 500 minutes played with a five-man lineup, they have the number one offense in the NBA. And then they have the number 4 defense in the NBA as a unit. So they're just absolutely elite, plus 13.3 net rating. The only team with a better net rating, but over 320 less minutes played, though, and 8 less games played, is the Milwaukee Bucks. Milwaukee Bucks are plus 15.3, but on much smaller sample size. So I do think that for the Nuggets, a lot of this stuff for them is just figuring out how to continue to maximize those non-Jokic minutes. And if that means putting, Jamal Murray surrounded by talent on the bench, and the main unit that they've been playing is the Jamal Murray, Christian Brown, Justin Holiday, Peyton Watson, and Zeke Naji minutes. Now, they were a plus. Think about this, y'all. They were, prior to this game, they played 50 minutes Prior to the last game versus the Mavericks, they had played 50 minutes, y'all, and they were a plus 4.9. In one game swing, that unit has moved to a minus 3.5. A minus 3.5. So they have a chance to get it right because they had actually been doing really well offensively. And I think that lineup is going to be really important for the rest of the season because that's probably the best bet I think the Nuggets have for stabilizing the non-Jokic minutes. But if I had to put a number on today, what do I think the final score of this game is going to be? I'm going to say the Denver Nuggets are winning in Minnesota. I would say 114 to 102. 114-102. I think it's going to be a little bit of a lopsided game at points if they don't have Rudy Gobert in them and the fact that they just played Utah yesterday. And I think that the Nuggets can pull this game away late. And maybe if the bench unit comes in, it's probably going to be like 114-106, 114-108. But I do think that the Nuggets are going to have a double-digit lead at some time in the fourth quarter with Jokic in the game. I expect another win and the Nuggets to be able to really put a little bit of a distance between them and the Minnesota Timberwolves. Let me know what y'all think in the comment section. Who wins today? Who wins the game? Who are you confident is going to perform well tonight? Does Jokic have a bounce-back game versus the Minnesota Timberwolves? And we'll see what happens. Tomorrow, you're going to have Adam Martez and you're going to have Matt Moore. And then I will be back with you for a solo show. And then this weekend, you'll have Matt Moore and myself as well. Y'all know what time it is? This is Swiper, Locked On Nuggets. I'll see you on the other side.